Do you know where these giants live? It has a very bad character. He loves attacking humans because of its huge size. If I catch it in my hands, you'll find out that this thing is actually a little karami. You turn honest in your hands. In the interior of a continent, there's a mysterious beast. Two people used to swim here. All of a sudden, this beast attacked, even though there was no murder, but they still got a lot of injuries. That got Jeremy curious. What kind of beast is it? To chase people and bite them. Because Jeremy knows very little. So he first came to Sydney. We're going to do some digging here, but he does know something. That's what this was. There are a lot of wild animals, like a shark in the sea. Follow him off the boat. So he went to the city, the fish stall that probably knows the sea best. Although there are many kinds of fish here. But these are small things. It's not what he was looking for. After all, if you hurt someone, basically only big fish can do that. So Jeremy went to the waiter, asked him if there were any giant freshwater fish. And the result is this. There's only barramundi and silver bass. And Murray cod. But they're out of stock today. Although I got some information from the waitress. But only Murray cod fit the bill. After all, there are no barramundi around here. And that silver bass is small. But here's the interesting thing. That there was an extinction event for Murray cod. And now it could happen again. Although Jeremy doesn't know that. That's where the original story takes place. But Jeremy now has a purpose. That's this Murray cod. So he went to the local library to see if this fish is extinct here. But there are a lot of books here. Jeremy was a little skeptical today. Can you find what you want? But after hours of searching, I managed to find some information about it. There used to be a lot of people caught a huge Murray cod. There was also industrial fishing. I'm going to grab a bunch of Murray cod, just like this for a few years. A piece of news suddenly appeared. Says the Murray cod here have been fished out. But in Jeremy's search, he discovered another interesting thing. That's in all the records. There's always a location on the Macquarie River. And this place isn't that far from Jeremy. So he followed the lead. I was on my way to the Macquarie River. And Jeremy's on his way. Suddenly I saw some aborigines. I have to say this thing is kind of goofy. And Jeremy, when he saw these things, and he started to talk about it, it makes everyone seem a little stupid. I don't search on my phone or computer. As he goes through another 4 hours. At last we reached the Macquarie River. But under his observation, found this seemed like a good fit, where the big fish are hiding. So he immediately took out his fishing rod, as he found a spot he wanted. And take out your own bait. Then he began to swing the rod to one side. After an hour of waiting, Jeremy starts coming back right away. This made him very surprised, but happy to think it's a Murray cod. Hurriedly in that constant return line, although the pole bends a little bit, but it didn't break in his hands. Instead, it pulled things to shore, as he netted the fish, only to find out it was a carp, not the Murray cod I wanted, although a little disappointed. But this thing can grow big too. But the fish has no teeth in its mouth. It can't hurt people. So Jeremy set him free. Can be hooked on the back of the fish. It's all invasive carp. It made Jeremy a little uncomfortable. So he left there, get ready for some more information. He followed him to a nearby pub. Jeremy suddenly saw a lot of good things. Turns out there's more than just fish heads. And a huge thing. And with 70 pounds of stuff. So Jeremy found a fisherman. Stewart is said to have seen Murray cod. Jeremy got it from him too. Stewart and some friends started a Murray cod farm. Re-released the fish back into the river. Let the species grow again. And Jeremy found out from another fisherman. There's been a sighting of Murray cod at Copton Dam. And it's really big. This phenomenon is indicative of this species. Now it is growing again. And that made Jeremy believe even more. The original too. It was the Murray cod that bit them. So Jeremy set off right away. But it's still a long way off. Just have to find a hotel the next day before we can continue on our journey. As he reached the neighborhood, found a lake here that's really big. But he called the fishermen ahead of time. To help yourself, go fishing in the middle of the lake. As the two set off, over the course of 2 hours. Finally, the fishing point of the trip. As he puts the bait on the hook, right off the bat he started swinging. After all, it's getting late. I want you to throw the rod. I may never get another chance today. But he was there for a long time. There was no movement on the fishing rod. This makes Jeremy a little anxious. I even thought I was in the wrong place. There may be no Murray cod here at all. But there's no time to go anywhere else. Just keep plugging away here. But after another hour of fishing, Jeremy. Suddenly there was movement in the fishing rod. But when he was pulling the lever, I think this thing is giving you a different feedback. As he pulls things to the surface. And confirmed that it was a fish. But it's not what I want. It's a yellow-bellied cod. Although the names are very close. But this fish can only grow up to 30 inches. Not even the carp. Follow Jeremy with the next swing. One night without notice. But he still did not have any harvest. I just can't catch Murray cod. He does like night fishing though. In the middle of the night. Keep swinging the rod and drawing the line. As the next day came, after Jeremy had slept for a few hours, back in the lake again. Get ready to finish what you didn't finish yesterday. But then he made a new discovery. There are clear signs of a drop in the water level, which makes Jeremy suspicious. The Murray cod here. Is it because of the water level and leaving? But on the fishing trip behind Jeremy, there has been no harvest, and it's been going on for 3 days. So he left and found some local fishermen, asked them about the situation here, and Jeremy got it from this guy. The water level here has been dropping, causing most of the fish here to leave. But he was on the map. I saw a big river nearby. So Jeremy went right away. He doesn't think it's been affected. As he began to search for the river, I never heard the sound of the river, but he was sure, I'm not in the wrong place. But there was no trace of a drop of water. Suddenly Jeremy thought of a possibility. That is to be in that position right now. Only now the river has dried up. This is very surprising. And that left Jeremy with no purpose in an instant. So he decided to find another pub, get some unknown information again. After all his inquiries, found a fisherman named Jeff. He was in a river. I saw a very large Murray cod. Jeremy got it from him too. The river is in Dagwadir, although the man said something else. But it's like a legend. After all, who trusts freshwater fish can carry something that weighs several tons, dragged directly into the water from the shore. As Jeremy continues to travel north, after a day of time, at last we were near the river that the man had said. Followed him to the river. It's like a puddle of stagnant water. It's so clean, you can see the bottom of the river. But right now, it's the only lead Jeremy has. He still wants to try it here, but because the river is too shallow, Jeremy has nothing to fish with, but he wanted to find what he wanted. I want you to grab your scuba gear. After he entered the water, suddenly, he stood up again and said a word. This is surprising. I didn't know it was going to be like this. But he doesn't want to go back for his fishing rod just yet. After all this perspective looks, it's very interesting. Still, he made a discovery here. It's a perfect place to hide. And it's not just the little fish that can hide, even the big ones. This was a great surprise to Jeremy. After all, it's the best environment for big fish. So he went ashore at once. Start preparing your fishing gear for a while. But because the water here is shallow, and there are lots of water plants, which brings Jeremy to his secret weapon, a fly hook that all fishers hate. As he gets things ready, he immediately returned to the river. After I was sure I wouldn't fall, he immediately began to shake the rod. But he has to do it in multiple places. After all, it doesn't smell like anything, does it? Can't lure out the fish that are still hiding. This is the only stupid way to do it. Give the water a little ripple, draw out what's still hidden. But with Jeremy constantly dancing, there was no movement. But as the sun was about to set, Jeremy's fishing rod suddenly made a noise. And it was on the shore. As he starts to pull the lever there, the fish struggled desperately in the water. Suddenly, there was an accident. The big fish managed to break free, and that surprised Jeremy. But there is no way now. Just keep throwing the pole out. As darkness descended on the forest, Jeremy is still fishing by the river. But behind that fish, there's nothing left to take the bait. This is very frustrating, but he doesn't want to give up the place. So far, after all, this river is the most promising of all. With him out of here, it will be ready after the next day. Come back here to fish again. As the sun rises over the mountains, Jeremy came to the river too. And now is his last chance. If there is no harvest in the morning, he had to look for a new place again. After all, the weather said there would be a rainstorm today. And this fish when it rains, and they don't go out of their nests. But he had a bit of luck today. I almost did it again once. This made him very happy. So he was in that one place, constantly swinging the hook out of the hand, but repeated mistakes. Make Jeremy feel like himself. I think I was fooled by that fish in the water. This made him very uncomfortable. So he made a big decision. That is to find another place to fish. After all, that fish is too smart. With him in a new place. Then he flung the hook out of his hand, and there's a fish on the hook. So he quickly lifted the pole and keep pulling in the line. Although this fish is a little strong, but they managed to pull it to shore. Although the fish is still struggling in the water, but he managed to grab it. He was very happy when he got the fish. This is the Murray cod after all. And in the process of catching this fish, Jeremy has learned one thing too. That's why the fish attack people. It's all because of their character. Because the fish doesn't like what living things are around the house. And after seeing the living thing, they will attack it immediately. And that's how the Murray cod live. As strange as that sounds. But there is no denying that it is true. Well, that's all for this program. Give it a thumbs up, and let's look forward to the next episode. You see this fish's mouth bigger than a human head. I want to put my head in there for comparison. This old den wants to be able to catch it. We got some guys to play by the beach. Get the fish's attention. I went out of my way to watch sharks. See which one's got the right meat for bait. Reported in the rivers of South Africa. There's a magical power. It's never been seen before. and it has an effect on people. Although this beast is very mysterious. But there was a local, had the pleasure of seeing this creature. But according to him, it looks like a person, and it disappears in an instant. This sent the man running in fear. For this reason, he named it Cayman, and to explore this, Jeremy flew to South Africa right away. Although he used to fish here, but that was unheard of at the time. This made Jeremy very curious. What the hell is that creature? He followed him to the river Bufferjags. I also found Dave, the guide I had already arranged, and he knows this place very well, and knows this river very well, can bring him good help. But as the two keep moving forward, Jeremy found the river very calm here. There's got to be something down there, right? So he immediately took up the fishing rod. But in order to get something here, he decided to fish with a wave crawler, because this kind of bait will attract most fish. It's perfect for this mysterious creature. But as Jeremy kept swinging, finally, by a pile of water weeds, successfully caught a fish. As Jeremy pulls him over to the boat, grab him with a net right away. Then Jeremy looked at the fish too. Although this big mouth bass, it's a common predator here. But based on what Jeremy knows, the mysterious creature was covered in silver. It doesn't match the yellow and black fish. And he's looking for something. It's not as small as this thing. So he released it again, but in the next few hours, Jeremy never restocked. It made him a little uncomfortable. But there's a village right next door. So Jeremy decided to ask around here. As the next day came, Jeremy also came to this village. I know it by asking around. There's someone named Maggie, a witness to the creature. So after a period of searching, I finally know where she is. So he quickly searched for the past. With his success in meeting Maggie, I got some information from her too. It was when they were having a picnic. Suddenly I saw the water. Something appeared. The top part is a human and the bottom part is a fish. It looks very much like a mermaid, but it's a little different because this thing has red eyes. It looks really weird, and people are also because of its appearance. Think of it as a mermaid. Although this thing is in mythology, is a very common presence, but part of Jeremy wasn't convinced. But then Maggie suggested a place for him. That's the Kleinkaroo River, and Jeremy just keeps going. With his successful arrival, also ready here, can understand more comprehensive, although he doesn't believe in mermaids. But local residents are convinced. As he continues to move forward, discover the environment here, so different from the neighborhood. Not only water, but also birds. Although Jeremy was amazed by the nature of the place, but he didn't have time to stop there, as he continues to move forward. But there was an obstacle. Although the roads here are very difficult, it's even a little steep, but he saw it here, a very different kind of sausage. Then someone was here, made a rock painting, and there's something on it. It turned out to be a mermaid, and it's like he's praying for something. These things are not only very mysterious, and it attracts people. After all, people are bitches, always trying to get yourself in trouble. With Jeremy gone, back in town again, ready to look for the chief here, see if he can get anything out of them. So far, after all, he still doesn't know what's in the water. With Jeremy finding the chief's house, I saw James too, and Jeremy heard it from him. The mermaid will be there every year, taking a young man into the water, live down there with her, even though it's a legend. But James gave him a general location. It's near a dam on a river, but there's a lot of them around here. It made Jeremy a little uncomfortable, but it's near this town. There's a dam right here. Jeremy thinks that's where the possibilities are. So, he went at once, followed him to the dam. But too little is known. So, Jeremy found a place. I'm going to take another look at those mermaids. As he kept checking, I learned something too. That's fishing at this dam. It's not just getting a permit first, and being watched, which means you're being watched while you're fishing. As the two of them race across the river, Jeremy saw a lot of animals on the boat. It reminds him all the time, in this place in Africa, full of bizarre creatures and events. And 80% of these events are true. As Jeremy starts swinging, then hurriedly throw in a few hooks. Let those river creatures. There are many different options. But Jeremy waited half a day. Jeremy suddenly had a fishing rod that responded. So he quickly began to return the line, with the fish being netted to the boat. Jeremy caught it in his hands. I mean, there's something going on right now. But this tiger fish is not what he wants. After all, this thing doesn't grow much. And the fish face is very ugly. With Jeremy setting him free, it didn't take long for the fish to bite. But this one is also a tiger fish. And that made Jeremy a little sad. After all, this fish is a piranha. To other fish in the river, it was a devastating blow. As the sun gradually set in the west, Jeremy asked the man beside him, "Can we continue fishing in the river at night?" And this guy heard it. There was a little embarrassment on his face. Here in Africa, after all, night is more threatening than day. But then he thought of being in the river now. The wild beasts of the land were no threat to them. So he agreed to Jeremy's idea. As the night fell, Jeremy does the same thing at night. And the reason he wanted to fish at night, because of the mermaid sightings. Most of it comes at night. So Jeremy wanted to see if he could. What have you learned tonight? But after hours of waiting, Jeremy didn't catch anything. This made both men very disappointed. But then suddenly a fisherman came along. Jeremy quickly greeted each other. Then I wanted to see what he got. When the man took the fish out, Jeremy quickly took it. After his careful observation, turns out it's a catfish. Although the body size can be very large. But this fish is impossible. She was considered a mermaid. After all, this thing is pretty ugly. And after such a long investigation, Jeremy grew more confused. So the next day came. Jeremy started looking for clues again. And under his search, suddenly there was a discovery. Then there are people along the coast. Was attacked by a mermaid. So Jeremy set off right away. Head to a small town called St. John's Harbor. Followed him to this place. I saw the river on one side. And this is where it happened. Guided by passers-by. I also learned some information. That's the guy named Cayman. It has nothing to do with mermaids. As he found his house, Jeremy wanted them to know something too. That's the mermaid. The body is the tail of a white fish. It is often found in deep water. Although only these more common sense things. But they have an important thing to do tomorrow. I invited Jeremy to observe. As the next day came, Jeremy was in the dark. I'm on my way to my destination. But Jeremy didn't show up. Because he was headed for the river. Not by the ocean. When Jeremy arrived, these people have already begun to prepare. And they are Sangoma, similar to shamans in other cultures. But it does matter that they're fish mermaids. Although Jeremy doesn't understand. But I do understand what they're doing. With Jeremy gone, I also suddenly remembered something. That's him so far. Only the river creatures. I didn't know about the sea. And that's when he found a lifeguard. And hear it from him. 6 people were lost here. There were even 3 lifeguards. After all sharks in the sea are equal. And that was a shock to Jeremy. But they were a little far away. And that's where the bull sharks live. That gives Jeremy his name. After all, this shark can grow up to 10 feet. And can survive in both fresh and sea water. Although under normal circumstances, sharks also show fins on their backs. But they sometimes, the whole body will be above the water. And that explains those observations. But there is a problem. That's Maggie's emphasis on red eyes. And that got Jeremy curious. Bull sharks will have red light. Although most animals do reflect light. But Jeremy doesn't know that. If this bull shark is going to have a reflex. If so, what color? So he went to the local institute. Get ready to take a closer look here. Jeremy is talking through the staff. You know what to do. So he immediately came to the exhibition area. But it's not just bull sharks. There are also silvertip sharks and gray reef sharks. As he gets his gear ready, right into the cage. Even though the first sharks, afraid to go near the cage. But as they get to know each other, it's a good opportunity for Jeremy. But it didn't work out so well. Although those sharks do have reflexes. But it's not red. It's yellow. But here's the upside. That's Jeremy right now. For what you want to find, get closer. That's the dark water mullet in fresh water. And this thing can grow up to 6 feet. They can weigh up to 150 pounds. But where this thing lives, right where he used to fish, that's in the river feed. But this is all we know so far. So Jeremy immediately went to his destination. As he arrived at the place, to find this place so deserted, it's kind of the end of the world. As the next day came, Jeremy found one too. A captain willing to take him out to sea. And Mark has been fishing here for 20 years. And I've caught dark water mullet in the past. Jeremy got it from him, too. 100 years ago, a lot of people could have fallen into it. But now it's getting really hard. But when you're fishing at night, you can see the red in his eyes. And that made Jeremy very happy. So far, this fish is a mermaid. But you have to fish it in to make sure this is what Jeremy wants. Followed the 2 men downstream. Jeremy got ready right away and throw the rod out. But then he throws the hook out. And all of a sudden, there's a fish on the hook. As Jeremy keeps returning to the line and lift the rod there. And they manage to get the fish to the side of the boat. Jeremy takes the fish into his hands. Found the fish a little small, and it's not what you want. So they put it back into the river. As Jeremy throws the rod out again, when he waited for half an hour, Jeremy's fishing rod suddenly made a noise. But this one's a little stronger. He's having a little trouble pulling up, even after getting the fish to the side of the boat. It went under the boat, although the fish runs very fast. But I still got pulled to the net by Jeremy. And Mark was amazing. They just put it on the boat. And this big dark water mullet. It's what Jeremy wants. And this fish fits the bill perfectly. What Jeremy learned up front. And that proves one thing. Is that whatever myth it is, it's all a real species change. Well, that's all for this program. Give it a thumbs up, and let's look forward to the next episode.